Welcome to the Divine Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Aroche, and together we are walking the path of discovering your true self and the alignment with your soul. Through these conversations, you will experience a deeper level of connection with yourself and the universe, and most importantly, you will trust in your spiritual journey ahead. Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I am so excited for the conversation that we have in store for you today. I have Miss Jacqueline Hopper, who is joining me today. And if you don't know Jackie, which some of you might know her, I hope you know her. If you do not, you are going to get to know her and you're going to love knowing her. So I'm so excited to welcome Jackie to the podcast today. Jackie is a self-mastery guide, a mentor, an energy healer, a best-selling author, and a podcast host for The Sovereign Soul. She helps people rediscover and open their spiritual gifts, step into their authentic power, and manifest the lives they were always meant to live. Her mission and purpose is to help spiritual entrepreneurs and thought leaders shine brighter and make more of an impact in this world, combining all that has been experienced since her spiritual journey began and her experience since stepping into her business. She has helped hundreds transform their purpose into fulfilling careers. Hello. Hi, Jackie.
Oh,
who are you?
I gotta find out who wrote that. I know, like what person on my team wrote that epic intro? Like, hello.
Right?
I have to remind myself you're talking about me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. That is you. And I'm just so excited to have you here. Wow.
Thank
wow.
you.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
I'm just so excited you stepped into the podcast world. I knew it wouldn't be long before you got a bug. I'm just so excited that you are in the podcast world. So many people need you everywhere, but in the podcast world especially, they need this.
Well, I just have to say thank you to you because you're the one who got me into it, all by suggesting that I need to get a microphone. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should.
Yeah.
Now here we are.
Definitely. Here we
are.
You're welcome,
so
everyone.
good.
You can send all your thank yous to me.
Yep.
Those of you who love this podcast.
Yes,
Just
Jackie
so you
has
know.
been the beginning of so many things in my life. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
I love you.
I just love you. So I want to first off, start this episode. One of the things that I know that you talk about a lot with regards to your work and the things that you do is self-mastery. And I feel like for me, when I think about self-mastery, it's this connection, not just a connection to self, but really allowing this integration of who I am, my divine being, my spiritual self, to be integrated and embodied in my human self, right? Because there's a lot of this energy around, we're human, we go through so many human things, emotions, challenges, etc. And then there's this divine being. And I feel like oftentimes people feel a disconnection, right? It's like, I'm living this human life and you're telling me that the universe loves me and supports me and I'm this amazing spiritual being. And yet I don't feel that 99% of the time, right? So talk to us about self-mastery and how you view what self-mastery is and, what that has looked like for you in your life.
Yeah. I love this. And I love that you stopped us in the midst of our personal conversation to say, stop talking. We need to put this on the podcast. I was like, oh my God. But it's so true. And it's actually what I started writing about literally this weekend in my second book. It's really about recognizing you are already a soul that is mastered. Your soul has been mastered. It needs no alteration. It needs no transformation. It is already mastered. And the journey on earth for the self that is Jacqueline or Christina in human form on earth, the journey of the self is to recognize the mastery that exists simply because I am already a soul. And you're right. You show up in this human experience and there's chaos. There's, the wars that happen. There's the natural disasters that take place. There are it's the contrast to and duality to what we know ourselves to be or what we should know ourselves to be. Part of self-mastery is recognizing that I am the essence of the divine in a body. I'm God in a body. I walk around as holy as can be. And if I acknowledge that, then I treat myself accordingly. And I treat those around me accordingly because they too are gods in a body. And so self-mastery for me has literally been a journey, and it's still a journey. It's always going to be a journey, right? Like it's never done. The journey's never done. The learning's never done. The expansion will never be done. But for me, I've always been very interested in my own experience from a small self to my teenage self, and like what made me rebel against authority, and then the 20s, and becoming a mom right at the age of 20. Immediately having to go from teenager to like adult, because now you've got another little being who, no matter how many times I apologize to this poor child, I still had to take care of her, like, oh shit, like, here's the ride we're on, baby. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? Like, I promise I'll do the best I can, but like being a mom really early on, and then, having to figure out life then at that point wasn't just for me, it was for her too. Right. And like so many people have that same story or something very similar, where they recognize that earth form, like life here on the planet, automatically comes with conditions, automatically comes with expectation. And depending on where you decide to plop yourself, perhaps it's a specific type of a religion, a specific type of rule, a specific type of family values or family dynamics that you're just plopped right on into. But even though we know we knew this would happen, it's still a struggle. It can still be really hard. And so self-mastery is us being able to take our power back from its origination, from our origination, taking your power back and saying, even though I was viewed as rebellious in my teenage years, it taught me a shit ton. It taught me so much. Even though, I gave power away to the single mother in the way of being a victim of some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? I didn't get to grow up or be who I wanted to be or something. You know what I mean? Like, I take my power back from that, because all of it was a choosing, and all of it was deliberate, and all of it was exponential growth, expansion, and learning. It had to be for me to be who I am today.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's right? So good. Yeah. It's so good. And so one question that came up as you were sharing that is, do you feel that self-mastery is something that is almost like immediately happening as soon as we are here as humans? Or do you feel like it's something that starts to happen once you become, quote unquote, spiritually awakened, or once you become more aware, more consciously aware of your spiritual connection of who you are? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like the journey of self-mastery really starts once you've kind of gone through that spiritual awareness process, or, that awakening, or like before that?
So yeah, and the guides are really coming into support with this, because this is a very important question. I love your question. They want to acknowledge that they too love your question. My guides are going.
Thank you. That means so much to me from Jackie's guides. Like,
oh my God, that's so good. So I think the answer is essentially from the gate, like from birth. You're on a mission of self-mastery, right? You're because if you look at each lifetime ascends the one before.
Right.
Does that hit you? Yes. Each lifetime ascends the life before. Now, whether you learned all of what you needed to learn in the last one or not, you're going to bring that forth so you can learn it in this one. Like, don't worry. Like, they'll make sure you learn. But each lifetime ascends on the last one, right? However, that was the guide's answer. So self-mastery is an ever-going everything from the moment you're born until you become enlightened, like Jesus himself, right? Until you no longer incarnate, essentially.
Until you become Buddha, and then
until you become Buddha. Yeah, which I want for everyone. I myself, I'm like, hey. But I think that the answer is also yes, during your awakening. I think that that was beautiful. The doing of self-mastery starts from the moment you're born and each lifetime you enter into, but the being of self-mastery happens the moment you have a spiritual awakening. And a spiritual awakening is going to be defined differently for everyone. You know, you've got your conscious awakening when you're like, oh crap, I'm actually really interested in this stuff. Like, I actually understand I'm psychic. Holy cow. Like, this is so good. Like, there's that spiritual awakening. But then there's also the spiritual awakening that comes when we have hard things happen in our world. Many people credit the death of a loved one to their awakening. Many people credit the dark night of the soul to their awakening, right? Or they just get to a space and time where they're like, WTF? This can't possibly be what life's about. That there is the ultimate question. And when the guides, literally, it's like choirs of angels show up and the guides start clapping because it's like, little human, you finally figured it out. Like, no duh.
Right.
Like, there's nothing.
Yep. We've been waiting for this moment. Finally, here we go.
Yeah, because they won't step in. They won't alter your life unless you say, is there something more to this that I don't know? Because they love our free will. They respect us in our free will. So I think that the answer of self-mastery is it's at birth because it's the journey that you're doing. But then self-mastery is when you start really recognizing your own spiritual awakening and what you identify with. You know, I was talking to you about my 13-year-old son who's literally questioning all of that right now. In some aspects, he's having his own awakening at 13. I don't know what I believe in. It's an amazing, it is. But that's an amazing question. It fosters understanding and learning because he'll talk to like my dad or he'll talk to my mom or he'll talk to, you know, me and he'll talk to my son-in-law who's very, 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 very much in the Christianity and stuff like that. But he's got now a wealth of people to question, what does spirituality mean to you? Like, I don't know if I'm religious. I don't know if I'm spiritual, you know, and the divine would say it's all the same. It doesn't really matter. Just have faith in something. Right. And so I think self-mastery can definitely be something we enter into as we start to own who we are as people, care about how we show up in the world. And for the ones that are listening to this podcast or even mine, you know yourself to be a healer. You know yourself to be a light worker. You know that you're here to make an impact in this world. Self-mastery is something you absolutely have to navigate in order to be the best light worker, healer, coach, mentor you can be, because you teach people off your experience. That's how you bring your impact in the world. You teach them your story, but you've got to know your story. You've got to have healed to a degree with your story to be able to teach those around you.
Oh my gosh. So good. So good. And I love that you said that because you're literally speaking to what was going on in my brain as you were sharing and as you were talking, which is this whole connection to your story and to your truth and to who you are. And I feel like, you know, for me, that's been such a huge part of the journey. My own personal self-mastery journey is understanding who am I and what is that truth? And then also how does that truth desire to be expressed in the world? And then, you know, from there, it's also, what is it like, what conditioning and what human things like fear, beliefs, like whatever, are holding me back from that expression, right? And so I feel like that's where, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where it feels like this self-mastery comes in, because it's kind of like we do bump up against these things where, okay, I see my divine truth, I see who I am, or I'm learning, I'm connecting to it. And then there's also the other side of it that's like, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? Why would you put yourself out there in this way, right? Yes, go.
Well, not only that, but as you do self-mastery, here's the thing that you have to know, the fine print. You're the one that has to be so grounded. We're talking, they've been saying this to me all day, knee deep in soil. You need to be knee deep in soil, not grounded. We're talking levels of grounding no one's seen before. Knee deep in soil. Because that's how firm you have to be with your thoughts, your beliefs, your morals, your values. When you're talking self-mastery, there will be so many things coming from the woodwork. There's the contrast to your light that's then shown. The people that don't believe it, the people think that you're out of this world, you're crazy, you can't do it, or your journey starts showing you things in your world that are not aligned with you being knee deep in that soil, and you have to uproot stuff. You have to move that stuff through. So when you're on a journey of self-mastery, where will you get hung up? By where the universe asks you to show up differently. Claim this new mastered version of who you are so that you can reach the next level of mastery. It's never complete. It's never done. But we get hung up in the physical world because, like you said, the illusions that we think are so real, the pitfalls of money, the pitfalls of people liking me, the pitfalls of, am I going to have clients if I'm an entrepreneur? Am I going to have a job if I decide to speak my truth? Will my family leave me if they know my truth? If they know I don't align with their religion anymore, their viewpoint anymore, their ways of life anymore. You know what I mean? And self-mastery means that we have to be so finely tuned into us to have so much faith in what we believe in, that if everything fell around us, we would know for certain we're okay.
That is so deep and so powerful. Yes.
Is it not? Because it calls where we're attached to things now to the surface. Because I know you even stopped and you were like, ooh, if everything like where, because I'm a mom too. I'm a mom too. If stuff started happening in the child department, I don't know that I could say I adhere to that. Right? Like, you've got a coffee cup that says Mama Bear. I'm literally like the essence of Mama Bear. Like my kids, they you know what I mean? So like, but here's the thing. It's a human experience. We're attached to bodies. We're attached to people in our world. And self-mastery asks us to release some of that attachment. Maybe not fully, right? Because we still honor that we're human. I still honor that these are little beings that I'm responsible for. Now, my 22-year-old who's going to move away to Virginia, she kind of did it for me. Cutting the cord, Mom. Gotta go. You know what I mean?
Yep. She made your process easier for that. Yeah.
Or harder because it's 5 hours away, but we'll be okay.
True.
I digress. But it is, and again, like I said, it's never done. It's never done. But self-mastery keeps us on our toes, in our aligned version.
Yep.
I used to say, and you would hear me say this all the time, we're 10% spirit in a body and 90% of us are in spirit form. Like there's only 10% of you in this little body. But I'm recognizing that my desire to reach levels of self-mastery each and every day, I'm supporting more of my being more of my spirit being in my body. And now there's more than 10% here, you know? And I think that the more that I do this, I feel more of her presence, and in more presence of her, there's more peace.
Right.
There's more love.
Right.
There's more self-acceptance, universal acceptance. Yeah. It feels
so
really
I love that. Yeah. It's such an amazing feeling. And I want to bring it into, kind of tying that in with the human experience and what you just said, how there's more of that presence of our spiritual self within our body, within our physical experience. Right. And so, would you say that it's something where overall you have this greater sense of, let's call it harmony, or a greater sense of alignment within yourself and who you are, still experiencing the human stuff like challenges, emotions, whatever, but being able to hold those, let's call them heavier emotions or more human aspects with, I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use here, being able to hold it better, quote unquote, or do you feel like you're able to process it faster or better, or whatever word you want to use, where you can come back? It's almost like a bounce back to your inner peace. Do you know what I mean? Rather than dwelling in, you know what I mean? Like rather than dwelling in the challenge, in the situation, in whatever the thing is, that's kind of like can be frustrating or very sad or very frustrating, angry, you know, whatever, it kind of brings you kind of bring yourself back to a sense of inner peace and love within yourself quicker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that question
I
make
know
sense?
exactly what
There's
you
a question
mean.
in there somewhere.
I know, and I know exactly, because I'm so tuned into you. I love you. I know exactly what you're asking me. And essentially what I want to say is, yes, I am able to hold space for myself. I can hold space for myself way better than I ever could before. And what I'm realizing is that by holding space for myself, I don't come out of alignment as often or as much as I used to, because I believe that I can hold alignment while I'm having struggles in the physical world. And holding space for me means giving myself time in alignment to question what I should do, how I should move, what step I should take first. Giving myself time too means, even though I have my answer, I had a wise woman once tell me, even though you have your answer, you don't actually have to make any changes yet. That was you, by the way. I know pregnancy brain, sometimes you might forget stuff, but you are the one that said it. You said, Jackie, even though you know, even though you know this is what you need to do, the universe isn't telling you need to do anything about it yet. And that really felt, I mean, as a generator in human design, that made my sacral light up, like glow, like, wait a minute. Because the physical world says, if you have something, like if you need to make a change, do it now. Now. You didn't do it yet? What are you waiting for? Why isn't it happening fast enough? Where as spiritual beings, I have an answer. Now I'm going to let the universe show me what this looks like as I start taking these. This is holding space for me. I don't need to move quickly. And so, yes, since this has always been my journey, I'm finally like realizing, like when in corporate version of entrepreneurship, it's like, find your niche. Find your niche and go after your niche, right? Like, how many of us hate that? Like, I'm raising my hand. I hate find your niche. But if I were to say to you, I found my niche, I know my niche. I know what I'll be very well known for, and it's going to be helping people recognize, understand, and reach levels of self-mastery as they do their journey. And so this is a big part of it. As you reach these levels, you are less apt to give your energy away because you know that you can hold your own space. I can hold my own space and give myself the time. I don't have to move so quick. And you know me. You know my story. You know, we've been friends for so many years that you know how hard I am on me sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
and I've witnessed you move through so many things, you know?
Right. And so I had to start giving myself permission, which is parts of self-mastery, to see that it doesn't have to be so hard, that I can hold that space for me without coming out of alignment, knowing that the universe is going to show me what to do next.
Yes. And the biggest thing that comes through as you say that is this, what I feel coming through is this energy of deeper level of trust, right? Like that deep sense of trust in yourself, in the divine, in everything of how it's unfolding. You know,
100%. And with all of what you just said, I used to ask you, because I would tell you that people wanted me to be more vulnerable, right? And I'd be like, I don't even know what that means. I think I am all the time, you know, but I'm realizing now that with more of that self-assurance and confidence and trust in the divine and faith, that I am so much more apt to be vulnerable. I share everything. I don't want to hold anything back. Because there's no fear of being judged anymore. I don't have that fear because I recognize it not about me. You know what I mean? Like when you're mastering the art of who you are, you're so busy mastering you that you give very little attention to the judgment that might be coming from outside you. You know what I mean? None of that matters because I'm so good with who I am.
Yep.
None of that matters because I'm on.
I was just going to say, and that's where that deep sense of self-love comes in too, right? That it feels like all of these different energies come in together and it continues to grow and it feels like this exponential, continuous expansion, if that makes sense,
right?
You know?
It's perfect. That's exactly what it is. I was told that I was here to help people to help them expand their souls. Like, that's why we're
Mm-hmm.
here. Soul growth and expansion. I used to say soul growth and expansion. That's why Zita's here. Soul growth and expansion. But
Yep.
now I'm like, oh shoot, it's not soul growth and expansion and just like that. It's self-mastery, which is the ultimate
Right.
expression of soul growth and expansion.
So good. Yes.
It is so good, and it's becoming so much more real. And that's the thing that
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving most about this journey. And yeah, there used to be times when I would be afraid to speak my truth. There would be times when
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that I made an error in judgment or in action, and that, what
Mm-hmm.
am I going to do to get myself out of this? Should I just settle for where I'm at, or should I actually go do something about this? And it would be beautiful how the universe would show up and already craft the out, if that makes sense, or already craft
Mm.
the rectification for what I might have done.
Yep.
And at the same time, allow me to alchemize the energy in my favor. Because
Yes.
I mean, that I'm walking through the divorce for a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Having come back and remarried him, and in 2 years later, coming back to the understanding that we need to be divorced. And,
Mm-hmm.
alchemizing the energy is forgiveness of self. I didn't do anything wrong. I needed to learn more.
Right.
And alchemizing that allowed him to not have resentment around the situation or the decision or anger around it.
Right.
That we were able to really continue to love each other from a spirit space while we recognize we weren't in love with each other. Do you know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we've saved a friendship. We've saved the epic part of us that are great with co-parenting.
Yes.
And we're able, do you know what I mean? And I really like
Yes.
self-mastery is also being able to alchemize your own energy to a level where people feel you without chaos. They feel you without anger.
Yes.
And the things that are
Yes.
happening around you, you can show up and not experience it from those around you either.
Right. And so from there, it's like you're literally crafting your reality in a way where, that could have gone a million different ways. It could have turned super
Mm-hmm.
ugly and very, in
Mm-hmm.
that direction. But instead,
Mm-hmm.
through the self-mastery work, like you've just mentioned, and through this experience of really understanding what is here, who you are, what is meant to come of this, you've been able
Mm-hmm.
to really bring it into the space of this is how it gets to unfold in the highest
Mm-hmm.
potential for everyone
Mm-hmm.
involved, right? And so that's
Right.
such a
Because I have
beautiful thing
kids too.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And in their experience of everything, it completely shifts the frequency that is now surrounding this
Yeah.
whole unfolding because
Right.
of that work that you've done, which is so incredible, so
100%.
beautiful. I love that.
And what I just received, my whole heart just exploded in my chest. Crafting your own reality. Like, this is another
Mm.
level of crafting your own reality. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
sitting here with that, like, wow, I am literally
Yeah.
crafting my own reality. Deliberately,
Yes.
consciously. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. I'm going to tagline
So
that.
cool. And yeah, and then you can quote me after that too. No,
I will.
But
No, really. I'm not even joking. Like, you're going to have a quote in the book. That's like chapter 3,
yeah.
self-mastery, crafting your own reality, Christina Roche, the Archangel Channel. Like, absolutely.
Yes.
It's so good,
It's
but
so
you're
good.
absolutely right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and then and I think it's that moment when you recognize where you're like, wait a second, I can see this higher perspective of what's happening right now, right? It's almost like you're being zoomed out a little bit and seeing everything from that bird's eye perspective, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it is all unfolding and it's all coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Mm-hmm.
it ties it all into that greater sense of trust in yourself, in the divine, in how everything is unfolding. And you
Yeah.
continue to follow that path with such deep faith and trust that will continue to
Mm-hmm.
allow things to unfold in that same way, you know?
Right. And I want to say this because I've searched for this for a very long time and I have it now. And I want to say it very as detailed as possible for the next person who's struggling where I used to. Having deep trust and deep faith, it's like walking slowly down the street. You're not hurried. You're not rushed. You're not bothered by what you see around you. You're just walking slowly down the street. You know where you're going. It's not about the destination. It's just walking assured and slowly down the street. I used to think, my ego would have me think that it needed to be a quick thing. It needed to be a rushed thing. In order for it to be high vibration, it had to feel like things were happening all of the time. And the greatest sense of knowledge, knowing, cognizant knowing now, divine connection now, is in those moments when I'm moving really slowly and I'm allowing the energy around me to move slowly too. Moving slowly meaning moving freely, unrestricted, unhurried, unforced, untainted, without my expectations, without my demands, you know? It feels like walking down the street, nice and slow, just moving, your own pace. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. And I used to really, I would keep you up at night. Like, tell me what I do. What does it mean? I don't understand. Because I literally would be so, it's intense when you're looking for the answer and you know you have it within. The other part of self-mastery is the acknowledgement that any question I have, an answer is within me, always. I am self-sufficient in my energy, in my beingness, spiritually and physically. I am self-sufficient because if I'm God in a body, and I believe I am, then if I'm bringing an issue to God, if I'm bringing an issue to the altar already has the answer. I just have to be in receive mode to understand it.
Yep. I love that analogy so much. It's so beautiful. And it's so true. Like, I don't know, it must be, you know, that human conditioning, because I have felt the exact same thing. And I'm like, were we fed a lie? Like, why do we have this perception that things need to be like, if you're spiritually aligned and connected, that things have to go quick. And I feel like a big part of it, what's coming through right now, is because we observe other people in that and we assume that the journey was quick or the journey was effortless or the journey was this. We make assumptions, right? Rather than seeing that we all go through these different experiences that in the moment feels like it's taking forever, feels like it's like, what is happening? I need the answer now. Quick, right? Yeah. And, you know, I think when we look back, when we look back, then it's kind of like, wait, that actually was relatively quick. But in the moment, it felt very, very slow. You know?
Very slow. And I think since adopting this for myself and staying true to this self of not quick paced, slow paced, be easy, be gentle, move and flow, wait for the go. I've actually seen time speed up much more quickly than in the past when I would struggle with something and it would seem like it lasted for forever. Us being in depleted despair energy literally feels like this quicksand that we just can't work our way out of. However, if we would just surrender to it, our own soul's mastery begins to awaken within us. It has room to move within us because we're not limiting it, restricting it anymore. And that's when we start going, if I can just give myself permission to just stop right now, I'm going to start getting synchronicities, signs, hits that then start gradually taking me from my focus over here to something that's going to be so much more better serving for me. It actually is less and less and less dramatic the more we practice it. It's like I walk on the treadmill. It used to be 10 minutes all I could do. And now I'm up to about an hour worth of time on the treadmill because I've acclimated myself. Right. And so the spirit stuff and choosing stuff and trusting stuff and all that comes just like that's the same process. It takes time to acclimate to new ways, and you have to give yourself the grace. Grace means I'm not judging my process. Grace means I'm allowing myself to flow. Grace does not mean that I'm going to do it clean. It's messy. Right. My book, Self-Mastery, The Art of Self-Mastery. The first thing I say to you is self-mastery is messy. It is such a messy journey.
It is.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. You know, because my ego sneaks itself in there. Every time I grow as a spiritual being, my ego grows as well. Like it's got to get trickier. It's got to get
Yep.
smarter. We've got more on the line now as we reach
Mm-hmm.
multiple six figures or $1 million status, right? Like all
Mm-hmm.
these pressures of being human,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it is something that many people won't struggle with when they can just let go of the physical time thing that's going on Earth and the conditioning that we enter into somewhere.
Right.
Because like what you were saying, I must have picked up this conditioning somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter where. You recognize
Right.
that somewhere along the line, something told me I had to do it this way. That's bullshit. I recognize it as bullshit because it feels like shit. So I'm just going to start focusing on
Mm-hmm.
this now.
Right.
And the
Right.
longer I focus on it, the more true it becomes. And then the more reality
Mm-hmm.
sets in.
Yes, yes. And speaking to that, that like what you were saying with that and like that shift from the time thing, like focusing on how long something's taking or this or that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like when
Mm-hmm.
when you shift into this different perspective or what you're focusing on, you're shifting frequencies, right? Like time is at a
Mm-hmm.
certain frequency. It's a 3D, human thing, earth thing, whatever. And so when you're shifting into this higher frequency in terms of what you're focusing on, in terms of what you are, allowing to be felt within you. And it's funny because once you stop focusing on time, it's like you said, then everything starts to happen faster and in a way where you're
Much
like, oh, this
quicker.
is seems effortless and flowy. And like, I'm not, trying to make things happen or trying to be so much in control. And so,
Mm-hmm.
on that note, I would love to hear from you, if there's anything that you can leave us with in terms of a specific tool or insight or guidance in terms of, people in that place where they're like, okay, I want to take my self mastery to this next level or to deepen my sense of trust or whatever it is, wherever they're at. What would you say is
Mm-hmm.
something that people can start doing or focusing on? Like, how can they start this?
I think I would love for people to start with an acknowledgement to where they feel limited. That's going to give you the
Mm,
perfect starting point for like where to focus healing
mm-hmm.
energy. So, limitation. Where am I experiencing limitation? Where am I seeing
Mm,
it in the big world? That's easy. We can see that right away. Then
mm-hmm.
kind of bring it in. Where am I seeing it in my world? Restriction or limitation? And then, if you can, bring it even deeper into your body. Where in my body am I feeling limitation or restriction?
Mm,
Because wherever there's
yes.
limitation and restriction, there isn't divine. Divine isn't limited and divine isn't restricted. So, wherever you
Right.
can pinpoint, and as humans, we're so conditioned to go to the restriction first. We know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you seeing limitation or restriction? In the big world, in your world,
Mm-hmm.
relationship, money, job, health, in your body, my knees, my elbows, my face, my chest. You know what I mean? Like, where is
Right.
there this essence or this feeling of restriction? Go there, get a journal, write about it. Why is it there? Where did it come from? How long has it been there? Why are you aware of it? What can you do that would feel like the opposite? Go to the opposite. If
Mm,
you're feeling restriction in your world with money, what would the opposite of that be? Oh my gosh, it would be financial relief. It would be flow.
mm-hmm.
It would feel like overflow or it would feel like abundance. Like take yourself out of where you know there's restriction or limitation and put yourself into a better feeling space,
Mm,
right?
yes.
And in the big world, the big world says that we're in trouble right now, okay, let's take our focus off of that. I mean, I myself I resonate as an earth healer. My job here
Mm-hmm.
is not just to heal the people, it's to heal the planet. Okay, so then
Mm-hmm.
if I'm seeing war or if I'm seeing battle, I'm actually being asked to look at it as chaos. I'm seeing
Right.
chaos, and from chaos energy comes violence, lacks of love, like, you know what I mean? People
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding each other, all of this stuff. So how do I transmute chaos for the big world? I do it by focusing on things that are not chaos, transmuting energy,
Mm,
alchemizing energy to stability,
mm-hmm.
calm. The world's not ready for love yet.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that. I said that. I had to accept that. The world's not ready for love yet. The world's
Right.
still realizing that it's lacking it.
Right.
I don't have to
Right.
point it out. It feels it. All I have to do is go to what is the world okay with right now? And the frequency of the
Mm.
vibration that we're on right now, the world will accept calm.
Mm.
And so my job as an earth healer is to transmute calm energy outward.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, we'll feel like we're peaking into a level of love, and then we as light workers can bring love in. But for us right now, we want to see where there's restriction in the big world, in our world, in our bodies. Our bodies are going to tell us right away they are not lie detectors. You know what I mean? Or they are lie detectors. They're going to tell us exactly where it is, right?
Yes.
But that's the tool I would tell them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I feel like that's so powerful. And I love how you tied it into the body too, because I feel like that's such a huge key in all of this, especially, you know, on a spiritual journey. And it's kind of like we're focusing on our connection to the divine and, you know, all of that stuff, which is beautiful, but also we do still have a body and we got to pay attention to what's going on in our body. And our body is so intelligent and so powerful. And, you know, again, it's like we've learned to dismiss it or not pay attention to it or not honor it, all the things. And so I feel like as part of this whole self-mastery conversation as a whole, know, it's bringing it into this harmony within the body as well and supporting the body. And I just love everything that you shared in terms of how we can bring that energy out, you know, in connection with ourselves to the energy around us, which then translates to the energy out into the world. And it creates such a huge influence, such a huge impact without us even realizing it, you know?
It does.
So
100%. And you're so right. We've ignored the body for long enough. I ignored my body because I always thought we needed to be externally focused to make things happen. And as I learned the external and really got good at the external, then really got good with my world, my focus has been on my body and getting my body right. And doing that, so much more of my ability to hold my own space has happened. I've realized it through that. My ability to bring in more of my soul has happened because of it. And my body's finally free and losing weight. It's finally letting go. We've done 10 pounds. We've got 30 more to go. And we're like letting it go very nicely, effortlessly. It's not hard. This is easy for me to bring myself back into alignment.
Oh my gosh.
And I think a lot of people are going to start feeling geared towards that. You listen and go.
Yep. Absolutely. I just love this so much. And I feel like we could talk about this all day long about all the things in so many ways, because after all, self-mastery is such a huge, you know, topic and conversation. There's so many like angles and places that we can go in with regards to that. So since you are the self-mastery teacher, tell us, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they learn more through you with regards to self-mastery, that kind of thing?
Yes. Okay. So you can find me on Instagram at Jacqueline Hopper. You can find me on Facebook at Jacqueline Hopper. Probably the best spot, especially with the new program coming out with self-mastery in March, it's definitely going to be jacquelinehopper.com.
Okay, great. Oh my gosh. And all these links are going to be posted below in the show notes. So I highly recommend that you connect with Miss Jacqueline Hopper and, you know, go see all the things that she has going on. Go check out her podcast too, by the way, The Sovereign Soul. Just so good. You may or may not find some a special guest speaker in there, somewhere in there. Wink, wink.
A couple times.
A couple times. I feel so special. I feel like I need to catch up to this.
You're a frequent flyer.
Yes.
You're a frequent flyer.
Yes, I love it. I'm getting those points. Oh my gosh. So good. Yes. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your beautiful insights and your wisdom and all of the things. I just love how our conversations are always just amazing and flow. And I just love you. I just love you so much.
Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yay. Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below the key takeaways that you really resonated with, the golden nuggets that you received. show Jackie your love for her because she's amazing and incredible, and we all just love her. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I am sending you so much love and angel blessings, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to learn more about the Divine Connection podcast, you can go to christinaaroche.com/podcast and learn about how you can be featured on the show.